so thrilled to be here. Thank you. Massport. I'm so thrilled to be here. Thank you. Thank you, Massport. Sometimes I think we're all guilty of a certain feeling of entitlement. Good things that come our way, we take them for granted. And I want us all to just take a moment and realize there is no reason why Massport is working so hard as to take your term, being a good neighbor to East Boston as they are, right? We just need to acknowledge that. I would also be remiss not to thank the Chamber, who has been a fabulous partner to all the work we have been trying to do in East Boston on behalf of small and micro businesses. When you look at East Boston, we are not faced by a crisis of opportunity. What we are faced with is a crisis of access. There is a ton of opportunity, but there are so many barriers, both visible and invisible, especially for minority and women-owned businesses. And so I will just close by really trying to underscore something Jose said. This is a fabulous moment. This is one of those punctuating moments. We will be moving forward from today, and we will realize that we will work even harder, even more consistently in trying to match the wonderful talent we have in East Boston with the opportunities we have in our business partners. So thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you. I'm Ken Turner, the Director of Diversity and Compliance for the Authority. My office is charged with basically two things. So on the diversity and inclusion side, we spend most of our time focused on making sure that we have a climate of inclusion, of respect. We obviously deal with issues around fairness and making sure that the affirmative action plan is both formulated and then implemented. And so the team that works with me on that is fully engaged. The other part of my job is the part that more, I think, is relevant to you, which is the compliance team. And the compliance team is focused on making sure that women, minority, disadvantaged business enterprises, as they're called by the federal government, are engaged in all of our contracts that are federally funded. Now, the state money falls under a different auspices, but what we do at the Authority is try to bring along the same rules of engagement. If you look at just the concessions business, Ray Blunt, who's in the back of the room here, mentioned that he is my concessions manager. That team is responsible for working with our partners in the airport business office under the leadership of Sal, who's in the back. And if you look at what we generated last year in concessions gross receipts, somewhere in the neighborhood of just shy of $300 million. And our goal is to make sure that when we're generating that kind of revenue and wealth, that small businesses get an opportunity to participate. So what we do is my team, under the leadership of my deputy, who I think, is in the back, Tiffany Brown Greer, we go through and we set goals. So we work with our developers. Our airport here works with a model called a developer model, where basically instead of us going through and planning out retail space in the terminals, we instead go through an RFP procurement process where we pick a developer who then goes through and plans that space for us. But our job is to make sure that when they set their goals from a sales standpoint with the airport business office, that there is consideration towards minority participation. So we'll go through and say, 10% or 11% or 12% based on some formulas and calculations that we do that basically says that's the kind of level of participation we want to have. So if you look at last year and that $300 million roughly that I was talking about, our goal was about what, 10.5%, Tiffany, I think? And so, that gives you a sense of how much revenue we're talking about. That's significant, significant money. When you start to talk about 20, 30, $40 million being carved out and targeted towards small businesses, that is not insignificant. The other part of our job is to make sure that we're cultivating small businesses. And so what we try to do is innovate in the time that I've been here. I've been here about 2.5 years, and first and foremost on my mind, coming from the private sector myself, was all about how can we innovate? How can we constantly look for ways to be more efficient, more customer focused, and more customer friendly? And one of the things I'm proudest of is that when I came on board, it was taking roughly 6 to 8 months to get a small business certified. And that was, due to a lot of different reasons, some of it bureaucratic, to be blunt about it. But we've now been able to scale that down to around 35, 40 days, assuming that the small business provides us with all of the information that we ask for in a timely manner. And what I've done is ask my team to be more high touch and more customer focused. And so what we'll do, and there are folks in this room that I think will vouch for this, is I've said that any small business, and not just East Boston, but any small business that's interested in working at Massport, if you reach out to my office, we will sit down with you, we will walk you through the process, we will get you through the process, we will introduce you to the right folks within the authority that you need to know. We brought construction folks in to meet with the head of capital programs. We've shown them how RFPs are done. We've shown them how winning contracts are done. We've done it with the ACDBEs as well. And so what we ask from you is show the interest and then show up. If you show up, you will find that I'll be there. So you handle your end of the log, I'll handle my end of the log, and we'll all get there together.